The body bag lay still on the cold floor. It was black, zipped all the way closed. A white tag hung from the handle. On the tag was a name. Evan Miller. He had entered prison for a small crime. A mistake. A bad choice. Now he was leaving in a body bag. The guards stood quiet. No one spoke. One guard finally said, "He was only supposed to be here for 6 months." Another guard looked away. The camera above the hallway blinked red. Then the screen went dark. And that was the moment everything stopped making sense. 3 months earlier, Evan Miller was not afraid. He stood in a small courtroom in Ohio, hands shaking just a little. He was 22 years old. He worked part-time fixing phones. He still lived with his mom. His crime was small. He stole tools from a hardware store. It was wrong, but it was not violent. No one was hurt. The judge sighed and said, 6 months in county prison. You'll learn from this. Evan nodded fast. Yes, sir, he said. He thought prison would be loud. He thought it would be rough. But he also thought he would survive. On his first day inside, Evan was processed like everyone else. Shoes taken. Belt taken. Phone taken. A guard handed him orange clothes and said, "Follow the line." Evan did. The prison smelled like metal and soap. Doors slammed. Keys clanged. His heart beat fast. But nothing bad happened that first day. Or the second. Evan was placed in a shared cell. His cellmate was older. Quiet. Kept to himself. "Just don't cause trouble," the man said. "You'll be fine." Evan believed him. He kept his head down. He stood in line. Ate fast. Slept light. This was a low time in the story. Quiet. Slow. On the 3rd week, Evan noticed something strange. The prison had groups. Not official ones. Invisible ones. Some inmates walked together. Some ate together. Some owned the room without saying a word. Evan stayed away. He was not part of anything. Or so he thought. One afternoon in the laundry room, a man bumped into him. Hard. "Watch it," the man said. "I'm sorry," Evan answered right away. The man stared at him. Too long. Then he smiled. "Yeah," he said. "You should be." That night, Evan could not sleep. The next day, Evan found a note on his bunk. No name. Just words. "You owe." Evan did not know why. He had done nothing. He took the note to a guard. The guard glanced at it and shrugged. "Probably a joke," the guard said. "Handle your own business." Evan walked away. His hands were shaking now. Days passed. More notes appeared. More looks. More silence. This was another low moment. Nothing happened. But fear grew. Then came the shower room. It was crowded. Loud. Steamy. Evan stepped in. The room went quiet. Someone turned off the water. Evan felt it before he saw it. The space around him closed. A voice said, "Wrong place." Evan raised his hands. "I don't want trouble," he said. That was when the lights flickered. And the cameras blinked. Guards rushed in moments later. Evan was on the floor. Bruised. Shaken. Alive. He was taken to medical. A nurse cleaned his face. "Do you know who did this?" she asked. Evan shook his head. He lied. After that, Evan was moved. Protective custody. A small cell. Alone. The guards said it was for his safety. Evan believed them. At first. Protective custody was quiet. Too quiet. No talking. No touch. No voices. Just walls. Evan counted the days. He wrote letters to his mom. "I'm okay," he wrote. He was not. Weeks passed. Then one night, Evan heard shouting. Alarms. Running feet. A lockdown was called. Cells slammed shut. The lights stayed on. Evan sat on his bunk, hugging his knees. Something was wrong. Very wrong. From his cell, Evan heard arguing. Then silence. Then a scream. One scream. Then nothing. The next morning, a guard stopped outside Evan's cell. "You didn't hear anything, right?" the guard asked. Evan looked up. He hesitated. "No," he said. The guard nodded and walked away. The camera above the cell blinked. Once. Twice. Then stopped. That night, Evan wrote one last letter. He folded it carefully. He hid it inside his pillow. Just in case. The lights went out at 2:13 a.m. That was not normal. Evan sat up. The hallway was dark. Footsteps came closer. Then stopped. Right outside his door. Keys rattled. The lock clicked. And the door began to open. The door opened slowly. Evan's heart jumped. A guard stood there. At least, Evan thought it was a guard. The uniform looked right. The boots sounded right. But the face stayed in shadow. "Come on," the man said quietly. "There's been a mistake. You're being moved." Evan stood up. "Moved where?" he asked. The man did not answer. That was the first warning. Evan stepped into the hallway. The lights were still off. Only the red glow from emergency signs showed the way. No other guards were around. That was the second warning. They walked past cameras. All dark. All silent. Evan swallowed hard. "Sir," he said. "Can I at least grab my—" "Keep moving," the man said. His voice was cold now. They reached a door Evan had never seen before. It was not on any map he knew. The man unlocked it. Inside was a small room. Concrete walls. No windows. No camera. Just silence. The man stepped aside. 2 other inmates were inside. Evan froze. "I don't belong here," Evan said quickly. "I'm in protective custody." One of the inmates laughed. "Not anymore," he said. The door closed behind Evan. The lock clicked. What happened next was never fully recorded. No cameras. No audio. No witnesses. That was the problem. Minutes later, alarms went off in another part of the prison. Guards ran. Radios crackled. Orders were shouted. The prison was busy. Too busy to notice one quiet room. An hour passed. Then 2. When the lockdown ended, guards began checking cells. When they reached Evan's cell, it was empty. His bunk was made. His shoes were gone. A guard reported it. "Missing inmate," he said. The response was slow. "Careless. He's probably been moved," someone replied. It wasn't until morning that someone found the room. A janitor cleaning a hallway noticed a door slightly open. He pushed it. Then stepped back. Then ran. The medical team arrived. They did not rush. They already knew. Evan Miller was placed in a body bag. No loud words were spoken. No announcements were made. The hallway stayed quiet. The official report came fast. Too fast. It said, "Inmate found unresponsive. Cause under review." Evan's mother got the call that afternoon. A calm voice. "Trained. We're sorry for your loss." She dropped the phone. Inside the prison, something else happened. Inmates started whispering. Guards avoided eye contact. Files went missing. Camera logs showed errors. A guard who worked that night quit the next day. Another asked for a transfer. No one wanted to talk. An investigator finally arrived. She was from outside the county. She asked simple questions. Why were the cameras off? Why was the door unlocked? Who ordered the move? No one answered clearly. The investigator found Evan's last letter, hidden in his pillow. Unsent. It said, "I don't feel safe anymore. If something happens to me, please don't let them say it was nothing." That was the extreme moment that ended. Because the investigator looked up from the letter and said, "This wasn't an accident." And the prison knew the truth was about to come out. The truth did not come out all at once. It came slowly, piece by piece. Like a puzzle no one wanted to finish. The investigator's name was Laura Bennett. She had worked prison cases before. Deaths. Cover-ups. Silence. But this one felt different. Because Evan Miller was not a hardened criminal. He was a kid. Laura walked the prison with a notebook in her hand. She did not raise her voice. She did not accuse. She listened. Most guards said the same thing. I don't remember. I wasn't on shift. I followed orders. One guard finally broke. He spoke quietly. They told us the cameras were down for maintenance, he said. But no maintenance team ever came. Laura checked the logs. The maintenance request was approved. But the signature was fake. That was the first crack. She followed the paperwork trail. Transfer orders. Movement logs. Door access records. They did not match. Times were missing. Names were wrong. The low point came when Laura realized something painful. This was not one mistake. It was many small choices. A guard unlocked a door without checking. A supervisor ignored a warning. A report was signed without reading. No single villain. Just failure. Laura interviewed inmates next. Most stayed silent. One finally whispered, everyone knew something bad would happen. Why didn't anyone help him? Laura asked. The inmate looked down. Because if you speak, you're next. That fear had protected the truth. Evan's mother came to the prison. She stood outside the gates with a photo of her son. She asked one question. Why? No one answered. The high moment came weeks later. A former guard came forward. He had quit. He could not sleep. He said, I was told to walk away from the hallway. I was told it was handled. By who? Laura asked. The guard gave a name. Then another. Then another. The system began to shake. Internal investigations started. Suspensions followed. 2 guards were fired. 1 supervisor resigned. But no one went to prison. Not yet. The official cause of death was finally released. It did not tell the whole story. But it admitted one thing. Security failures contributed to the inmate's death. Evan Miller was buried on a rainy morning. 6 months after he entered prison. He never finished his sentence. Laura stood at her desk late one night. She looked at Evan's photo. Then at the case file. She closed it slowly. Prison policies were changed. Camera checks became stricter. Protective custody rules were rewritten. Movement approvals required more signatures. But Evan did not come back. His story spread. Quietly. Families asked questions. Advocates demanded answers. And every time a guard hears a lock click late at night, every time a camera flickers, they remember Evan Miller, the young man who entered prison for a small crime and left in a body bag. That is where the story ends.